So what would you like to talk about next?
This is so staged. So, would you happen to have any mugs that you found when you were doing your collecting in the 90s?
Okay, so
Well,
in the old days, back before the ink and back before the stone. So in the old days of Tiki, you got
Which is the 90s. There's the first wave of Tiki,
yeah.
which is the original 40s, 50s, 60s. And then there's the second wave of Tiki.
Yeah.
And the second wave of Tiki was the 90s.
The 90s through the aughts. Yeah.
And then the third wave is a little bit more recently.
Yeah.
Some people kind of say around 2006, 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people are kind of pointing it to like when Forbidden Island opened up in Alameda.
Oh, that's a good bar.
Yeah, that would make sense.
It's a hell of a great bar.
We love that place.
So,
Hey, Michael. Good to see Michael Thanos is the
Yeah.
But Martin Kate was
Great
part of that.
bar.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Martin, your bars are awesome too.
It was a new point to like where
So.
people were starting to make new bars.
Yes.
But anyway.
Which didn't happen for a long time.
No,
Yeah,
at
so
least
mostly-
here. So the interesting thing about the second wave of Tiki is I just assumed that like, oh, it was this giant wave like of Tiki. And what I found out was there was the second wave.
Mm-hmm.
But the second wave of Tiki was exactly the same situation that you two were in. Where there were people across the country that were into it. But it was very small.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe down in Los Angeles, there's a handful of people here.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe they get together and they, for some reason, they like tiki bars or whatever. Some people up in San Francisco, but not like thousands, hundreds of people
Yeah,
being
it's not
into
like
it.
No.
what we see now.
No, not
And
nearly.
you were also chasing everybody else's old junk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
pretty much. They weren't.
nobody wanted Grandma's atrocious tiki mug.
They weren't making new mugs. There was mostly
So-
what you could find.
The backbone of our collection is all the mugs you can't get anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's ones that came into garage sales, rummage sales, estate sales, antique malls that gathered
Well, thanks for
dust
coming on
in
the show,
back.
Tom.
Sure, anytime.
It must be
Oh.
after another drink.
Looks like, looks like it's just
So-
it looks like it's just us now.
I think he's after something. I'm sure it will have a point in the end. But
Hey, Tom, this part's definitely going to get cut.
Okay.
It's going to get edited.
All right.
He just left.
Yeah.
tracking with you there.
early tiki mugs. So these are the first ones I brought home, and they were ugly. And but
Oh, but nothing holds a candle to that.
But we loved them. And then I'd go and I'd find things, and Tom would find things, or we'd be on vacation and we'd find things. We found Jeff Teitelbaum's book, which Tom actually ended up putting a review into because it was a
More than
tiki
one.
road trip. It was
Yeah.
going and finding all the old stuff that was still alive. We found the Alibi when it was smoke encrusted and frankly frightening.
Yes,
Yeah.
Teitelbaum referred to me as his Northwest correspondent.
Yes. And we would write to him about things that were opening up, like when the Islander opened. Oh my God, a new bar.
Oh my God!
That was in
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah, it was in
When did that
Seattle.
open? Do you remember? What years?
It was
Like
2000.
2000?
Oh, 2000.
No. It's later. It's later.
Oh, not even. So even
2005
later
or
than
6. It lasted like 2 or 3 years, maybe.
that. Oh, that's
uh,
it.
Yeah,
And that was it. But it was
they decided to
amazing.
change it to a Vietnamese restaurant. So
And they did, but when it first came out, it was just right. I mean, they had done it just right. But people weren't ready for it yet.
No.
So,
well, it was a little sleek and elegant, and the decorating wasn't deep.
right.
It was
Well, and it suffered from the same thing that the Bellevue Trader Vic's did.
yes, it
which
was a little bit too clean.
They made it too yacht club, not enough tiki.
Yeah, the food great. The
Yeah.
drinks they're great.
So,
but
on to mugs.
yeah.
So, the backbone of our collection is all of those ones that you see in Tiki Quest. Yeah. And all those ones in the Book of Tiki.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have just about all those. Because one by one from old people's collections, I would pick them up. And there were also the ones where Tom tells me not to buy them. Where later it turns out I was right. So we're at an estate sale. And sitting on a counter It's got to be the ugliest tiki mug I've ever seen in my life.
The ugliest tiki mug.
I told her it's someone's backyard greenware project.
Yeah.
Does it look that bad?
It was hideous. Completely. And they wanted 25 cents for it. And he's like, you can't believe you're going to pay 25 cents for that.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
And there were two of them.
It's a quarter.
I was a collector as well.
Right. So I bought them both, whole 50 cents worth I'm in for it. And then I come home and I stuff them in a bin, right? Because they are hideous.
Yeah.
And then later I'm reading, and then I'm on Ooga Mooga, because I'm cataloging my mugs finally, and only half of them are up there still. And I flip a page and I find a picture of my god-awful mug. And I'm like, wow. Hey, Tom. It turns out it's a Tonga Punch mug from the beginnings of Trader Vic. And if it's right, it doesn't have any markings on it. It looks like greenware because it was.
Wow.
And it looks like this.
Are you serious?
Yes.
And
there are no markings on it.
There are no markings on it. So if you have,
it is damn ugly.
It is. It's an ugly mug.
No, that's not.
Some kid made that.
That's not. Yeah, it looks like a child made this.
Yes.
Like, it has weight to it.
And there is not a week that goes by that I don't get dinged by somebody going, I noticed in the picture you have more than one. Would you be willing to sell me one?
Like, no.
And I'm like, that was the best 20.
I'm usually yes.
Everything's
we don't
crooked.
need two.
They're all good.
It's not even like lined up.
No,
they're
hideous.
We could buy a couple of other great tiki mugs for the price
I
of
love
one of those.
Yeah. But hey, that was good 25 cents, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely.
So, at this time and period,
Where do you want to put it?
Yeah, I'll hang on to the thing. So, at this time, there weren't new production mugs. That wasn't a thing.
No.
Later, a little bit later, we have that's from, and then there's Tiki Palaces that are gone. Walmart, you have a lot to answer for. So I believe it's Walgreens who bought the corner.
Walgreens, not
yeah,
Walmart.
Walgreens bought the corner that the Kahiki was on. After
is that from the Kahiki?
Yes.
Kahiki number
No
one.
way. Let me
Yes.
see this.
So after they bought
No
it,
way.
they
Number
took something
two.
that was actually on the historic register and they
bulldozed
demolished
it.
I've always
And made
felt
it to Walgreens.
there's like if you can go back in time to any of the places, it's the Kahiki that I would want to go to. And you know what the most heartbreaking thing about that is? And you know the building. It's big. It's like
Yeah, that gorgeous flying A-frame.
And the thing that really bums me out, there will be new tiki bars to be made. They're going to make them.
Right.
But they're not going to make them in that kind of a building.
Heck
No.
no.
Because in the 90s, if you wanted to find tiki,
80s or 90s.
you had to go on a road trip.
Yeah.
You had to go find it.
Yeah.
And it was like urban archaeology.
Yeah.
Just like Sven Kirsten was doing. So we would get in the car and we would go hunt for, hey, look, there's a tiki over there. And so they weren't making new things yet.
No.
Yeah.
Which brings us to they're making new things now. So the first time that we came in a brush with, somebody new is making things,
Don't worry, it's all right.
Okay.
is him. Turns out now there's a film about him, but this is a Bosco. This is a Bosco pre-internet. This is a Bosco where you knew kind of what was going on and you sent money and Bosco sent you a mug he painted. One of the new kids on the block that's really doing fabulous stuff is Horror and Clay.
Yeah.
The Chuffins do great
Hey, Jonathan.
stuff. So,
Hey.
the artwork on him is spectacular.
Yes.
Shaffin?
Chaffin?
I think that's it.
Okay.
You can
And
correct me later.
His sculpting is beautiful.
Yeah, so the sculpting is gorgeous, and so are his glaze choices and stuff like that. And so, I really feel it's important to
Gently.
support the artists who keep your movement alive.
Yeah.
Buy a tiki, buy a painting.
Without the art, it isn't really a movement.
So we were picking the bones of the wave before us, the very first waves tiki, what was left, and then Disney got in on the act.
Yeah.
And so the real impetus though that keeps things fresh and keeps things moving is the artists, the tiki mug makers, the tiki pole carvers,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. And that's what's really important, because that was what was missing in the 90s. There was nothing new to be had.
It was all
and
old bits and pieces. You get kind of.
And then the music. So like over there I have a collection of antique vinyl. And I love old exotica.
I mean, now that you get everything you're saying is like makes complete sense. It's like in the 90s when you were into it, there just literally wasn't hardly any new artists, new musicians, new carvers, new mug creators,
New drinks, new anything.
Everything you're trying to get is
at least in Seattle.
Is at least. Well, I'm guessing it's probably pretty much.
In California, it might have been different. You know, they tend to have a more bigger scene for that.
All right, well maybe California, but I mean that's about it. But here's the thing: it's just like you just, and then you have to find it. There was no internet really.
Yeah.
No,
and you had to know about it.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't a lot of resource material to tell you what was good,
what wasn't.
So you just bought what you liked.
And
this album cover looks cool. Hey, there's a voodoo mask on it.
And originally it wasn't.
And it's a quarter. Okay, sure.
And I have a lot of really inappropriate covers. Thank you very much. We've got a lot of shrunken heads and.
Of course, and originally it wasn't even the internet really either. Too, just browsing through stores hoping to find something.
Yeah, junk stores. And they were junk stores. Like, in your interview with Don was talking about, it was junk stores. They smelled, they had a funk to them, It was not like...
Hogo.
Yeah. Nice. Use a rum term. Awesome. So, they were, it was grandma in,
Grandma's
Vader,
rejects.
Washington had a thing for tiki. It's not like today where you can commission a new piece or or they give you directions on how to build something.
I honestly feel, I wrote a post about this on my blog. I honestly feel that we are in the golden age of tiki right now. The third wave is the golden age, and the reason why I say that is exactly everything that you just said. If you get into tiki now, oh my God, you have access to the internet. You have access to Ooga Mooga. You have access to Tiki. There's the books. They've been written.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sven wrote the book of Tiki, and I think it came out in the early 2000s.
Yes, because Tom bought it for me when it came out, because they're doing something that we do.
But before that, there was no book.
Yeah.
No.
There was Tiki News if that fanzine.
If you could get it.
Yeah.
Because here, we didn't have it.
Exactly.
Nope.
So... The second wave of Tiki sounds like it was a dark time, literally. Just as far as like information and sharing anything or knowing about anything.
Mostly it was digging stuff out of old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you can actually get everything. And there's new bars popping up. People are doing them right. You got people like Martin Kate and Beachman Berry. Like, here's how you make the cocktails correctly.
Yes.
It's
key.
The bum. We owe a lot to the bum.
Yes. Without the cocktails, there wouldn't be tiki.
Yeah.
So.
They didn't go to the restaurants for the food. Amazingly, the Vegas crowd felt that real tiki drinks were too strong, which when you're wandering around with your gigantic slushy, 36 ounces in the middle, you wouldn't think it's a problem.
It's down there in the basement of, I think it was in Caesar's Palace.
Yeah, it was
pumping away, but it wasn't tiki really at all. It was kind of like Caribou Queen in another suit. And then
Caribou Queen, did I hear that correctly?
Caribou Queen?
No, Caribbean Queen.
No.
Caribou.
No, the song goes, Caribou Queen, now we're sharing the same dream.
Caribou.
No, wrong kind of caribou.
No, okay.
Just telling you.
No, wait, are you thinking of a different song? What?
No.
Oh, I'm thinking of Caribbean Queen.
That's it. 80s, big for Caribbean pseudo Caribbean music.
On the road.
Not Miami Vice type.
That's not what you're singing.
Same period, but not.
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Caribou Queen?
Yeah.
It's Caribbean.
It's caribou.
It's caribou.
Trust me, when he mispronounces it in the thing, if you play it,
Caribou
you
Queen?
will hear Caribou Queen. So
Caribou. That makes no sense at all, Jeanie.
Sorry.
Was he Canadian?
go ahead and play it. So, This is going to be one of those outtakes, I can tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure
No,
this
no,
is an
Jeanie,
outtake. This is an outtake.
This is actually going to be the end of the show.
I'm
Are you kidding?
As sin. I'm ugly as sin.
Is that another song from the 80s? I'm ugly as sin?
No, it's not.
No, but
I'm ugly as sin!
that video killed the radio star is very true, because if you ever noticed, the performers got a lot more pretty
They had
once
to.
MTV came on.
Yes.
No, the 70s suck. I hate
Yeah,
them.
and the singing didn't necessarily improve.
No, not really.
White guys with afros and beards.
Well,
That's everyone in Boston. Hey gang, this is Tiki with Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more episodes, click on the subscribe button. And if you liked the video, give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below.